Hey, it's me, James, and in this video, I'm going to be doing an Oracle Outlook reading for the week ahead, starting October the 7th. So, stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining me for this video. In this video, I'm going to be honoring the request of some viewers who have asked me to return at some point to doing weekly readings. So if you are one of those people, this video is for you. This week, I'm going to be using a deck of my own making. The deck is called the Inner Wisdom Oracle. This is the title card that I created for it. Because when I created it to be in a plastic case or tin, so there's no decoration around the outer wrapping, so I made a title card. So this deck came as a result of going through what I call, if you are familiar with astrology and numerology, then you will know that the term Saturn return. So I'm experiencing that this year, 2024, has been the year of my second Saturn return. And as well as I am moving through the energy of a 9 personal year. So there's a lot of reviewing, assessing, reassessing, closure in my life. So I've been sitting with that, emoting about that in some ways, and perhaps I'll talk about this experience in another video. I'm thinking in the moment that I haven't done a talking woo-woo video in some time, and so this would fit into that. So I don't want to get too far off topic, but the energy of the Saturn return and the 9 personal year kind of just put me in a space of being reflective on what have I learned over the course of the last 9 years. And so this deck was actually a very personal and very cathartic deck to create. And so one of the things that I've discovered, it's very easy for me to make decks. It's another thing to see if they work in terms of reading. So actually you all are going to be my guinea pigs because I've been working with the deck for myself, but I want to kind of branch out of my own bubble, so to speak, and see how it works with different contexts, different people, things like that. So I hope that you will allow me to use this deck in this way with you all. So my thought is that I would draw 3 cards for the week, 1 for the beginning of the week, 1 for the middle of the week, and 1 for the end of the week, to kind of just keep things simple. And as I'm reflecting on that, this is a reminder for a particular viewer. Her name is Barbara. She asked me some time ago to create some videos around card spreads that she could do every day that are really simple. And I recently uploaded my recent Focus and Factors spread. It's a 3-card spread. So this is kind of in a similar vein. So Barbara, if you're watching, you could incorporate this easy spread into your practice looking at the week ahead, right? 1 card again would be for the beginning of the week, 1 for the middle, 1 for the end. So with that in mind, I'm going to take the deck in hand. I have the deck right here. And so some of the features or characteristics of the deck is that it is playing card size. I wanted to kind of make a smaller deck so I could carry it around on me. It's a form of bonding with the deck. You know, if I have it on my person, I'm kind of creating an energetic bond or connection to it, yeah? So it's playing card size. It's on linen cardstock because why not? Playing cards, most playing card decks are made with a linen cardstock, so I wanted to kind of keep that vibe. It is 52 cards in the deck, and the theme is actually very personal. So it's based on my own dream experiences in dream time, and meditative moments. So it's a very spiritual deck. But I'm also looking as to how those spiritual elements can be translated into experiences in the 3D reality, right? Okay, so I'm shuffling the cards. So you can see I'm shuffling. And there's multiple ways that I shuffle. So I just wanted to kind of show that I'm shuffling on camera. But I'm also having my table right here next to me, so I'm going to also take advantage of that and shuffle on the tabletop. And when I shuffle cards, I usually like to shuffle 5 times. And that is one for each of the elements. That is earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. So I've done that. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck. And usually if I'm reading for myself, I cut towards me. But because I'm reading for you all, the collective, I'm cutting away. I'm going to fan the cards out. And now I'm looking for 3 cards in the fan that are getting my attention. Okay, so I picked 3 cards. I have them face down so I can't see them in advance. Alright, so I have the 3 cards here. So like I said, the first card is going to represent the beginning of the week, second card middle, third card end. Okay, so now at this point I will say that take what resonates with you, because this is a general reading for the collective. So when we say general readings, or at least when I say general readings, I know going in that this is not going to apply to every single person or viewer who catches this video, right? So I'm just going to just put it out there as a disclaimer that you take what resonates with you and you just leave the rest, okay? So with that in mind, first card, okay. So opening up the week, so this would be, you know, maybe thinking like Monday, Tuesday, if we're going to classify certain days. But the beginning of the week we have, life is a stage. Okay, so now this card, again, has a personal story behind it, so I will kind of encapsulate that to the best of my ability. So this card is really based on a vision that I had. So I was in a spiritual movement called Unity. So those of you who are aware of it, it's also metaphysics that leans towards Christianity as its focus. Okay, so I was in a class when I first got into Unity, and the teacher, her name was Donna, was talking about how we as souls choose aspects of our life that we are going to work with in particular incarnations, right? So she talked about the idea about choosing your race, and I was okay with that in the moment. I said, yeah, I'm down with that. And then she said, you choose your gender, and I'm like, yeah, I'm down with that. And then she said, you choose your family. I'm like, oh, oh hell. I said, oh hell no. In my mind, I didn't say it out loud, right? So as I'm having that moment of resistance, this was the vision that I had. So all of a sudden, I see in my mind's eye, I see this stage. And with the understanding as I'm seeing these symbols unfold in my mind, that life is really a stage production. And you get to decide what role you're going to play in your stage production of life. Yes? Okay. And so that allows all the other people who are in your stage production, those are people who are playing supporting roles, right? They get to play the roles that you have chosen for them. And so here's the example that I had around the vision. So I used to have this story about being the victim. And the chief protagonist, besides myself, the other person in the story, my victim story, who played a huge role or part, was my mother. And so I used to always language stuff about, you won't believe what she did, when I wanted, unconsciously, when I wanted sympathy. I didn't realize I was doing this consciously. That when I wanted sympathy, I would tell someone the latest thing that she had done to me, you know, and so and they would just kind of reinforce my victim story, yeah? So I'm having this vision going on, and it's around this idea about being the victim, and being the victim in my relationship with my mother. And then I realized that she's only playing the role or the part that is going to best serve and support my role, right? So it's like the idea of like having a soul contract with another person, if you're familiar with that idea, right? It's the same thing. Like, you each agree to the part that you're going to play in a particular relationship in order for that particular story or dynamic to come to fruition, right? And so having that experience, it just totally changed how I viewed my relationship with my mother, right? So all of that to say is that this card is turning up to suggest to you that consider the role that you are playing in the stage production of your life. Do you like the role? Is it time to change the role, right? What are the other people who are involved in your stage production playing in terms of their roles or parts, right? And here's the thing, if you are experiencing maybe a challenge in the dynamics of a particular relationship, consider changing your part, because you're only responsible for your part, right? In life, you are only responsible for the part that you play, no matter what the situation or the context is, right? So there is that aspect of this card. Second one is that this is a card about performance. So it could just be a matter of you moving through life at the beginning of this week and just maybe assessing the performance that you are providing in certain contexts, especially if you want to see some change, right? It could just be a matter of, are you willing to change the way that you are showing up and that you are performing to some extent in that situation, right? There's that. And then the last part is, because the curtains are closed, it could suggest that it's time for a curtain call. Yeah, it may be time for a certain stage in your life, in terms of its growth and development, to come to a close. And would you be willing to exit stage left? Yeah? So those are aspects about life is a stage that I want to share with you. Okay, so that was the beginning of the week. Middle of the week, we have the Ganesha card. Okay, so now there are certain spiritual deities in this deck, and they have all come to me either in dream time or through meditation. Ganesha is a character. You know, most people are aware that Ganesha is a Hindu deity, but Ganesha came to me in a dream, so this is the dream. I was in someone's house, and he had a statue of Ganesha on a shelf in the room that I was in with him. And Ganesha was actually, in the dream, an Emmy Award, right? So if you're familiar with Emmy Awards, you know that in this 3D reality, that Emmy Awards are awards that are given for outstanding work and recognition in the television industry, yeah? So I was looking at, marveling at that, and the Ganesha statue was gold. So I woke up from the dream realizing and understanding that everything in the dream is some aspect of me. Yes? So I was the man, right, who had received the award, and I'm looking at this award. So it was suggesting that I was being acknowledged, dream time was acknowledging me about some work that I was doing, right? Some outstanding work that I was doing. And so the only thing I could think of was work that I was doing on myself, because Emmy is a pun for capital M-E. M-E. Get it? Me, the self, right? So whatever I was doing in terms of work in my waking life, because dreams are actually a response to what we are experiencing in our waking lives when we have the dreams, or at least that is my belief, right? Based on my experience, right? So with that in mind, this card was, or whenever this card comes up, it's acknowledging the work that you were doing on yourself. And how is it that is such a great follow-up to life is a stage, yeah? If you are recognizing your role and part that you are playing in certain experiences, and maybe understanding that other people are playing certain roles and parts that you are allowing them to play, right? So you get to have the certain story that you are wanting to work through in this life experience, right? If you know all of that, then this card is a nice follow-up, because it's acknowledging the work that you're doing in that awareness, right? And maybe taking a look at changing your role in your own production, right? And maybe even looking at the roles that you are playing in other people's productions, right? Because it goes twofold, right? We have the role, we play the leading role in our own production, but we show up as supporting characters in other people's productions, yeah? And so it could just be like the Ganesha part, or the Ganesha card, excuse me, is showing up for you as acknowledgement of the work that you are doing to change some of those ways that you have been showing up. Now, it could also be going with the idea that life is a stage is also about a curtain call, right? Drawing to a close a certain chapter or experience in your life. This card is also about, you know, the removal of blocks, obstacles, limitations, things that are keeping you forward, yeah? Are keeping you from moving forward, I should say, right? So again, there's two ways of looking at this card, right? It could be like, again, based on my dream experience, that, you know, this is an acknowledgement of inner work that we're doing on ourselves, the ME, the self. But it's also about removing obstacles, limitations, or blocks that are keeping you from moving forward, especially if you are closing a chapter of your life and you want to, as a result, start a new chapter, right? You know, so this is a nice follow-up to the first card. But again, this would be the middle of the week, so maybe Wednesday, Thursday. As a result of maybe some experience that you have Monday, Tuesday, then this is a nice follow-up to that, right? And the last thing I will say, as a person, I talked about this idea about, you know, my path being involved in metaphysics and with a more Christian bent. I always find it interesting when characters from, or I should say deities, to be more respectful, when deities from other faiths or religions or spiritual paths show up for me. Because that's an interesting thing to note. So it could just be a shift in your own personal path when a deity from another faith or culture shows up. And I am back, full disclosure, as I was talking about the Ganesha card, I just happened to notice in the view of my camera, there was a little blinking and it said I had 4 minutes left. So I realized, because I hadn't used the camera in some time, because I stepped away from YouTube and video production, that I had some old footage that I needed to delete from the camera. So I am back. I am now about to go to the third card. So remember now, Life was the Stage was the beginning of the week, Monday, Tuesday. Ganesha was the second card, middle of the week, thinking Wednesday, Thursday. And so now we're about to look at the last card. So now this would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you know, coming to the end of the week and the weekend. So for that card we have, okay, I had a feeling that this card was going to show up, so I'm going to show it to you now. This is the Spiral Staircase card. Okay, so now this is akin to, if you're a tarot fluent, this is akin to like the Wheel of Fortune, right? Or if you have one of the other decks that I created, the Neophyte deck, this is actually akin to the Spiral card. Okay, so with that in mind, there is a personal story, just like with the other cards. Now remember, each card has a story. So this is also a symbol that comes from dream time. So in my dreams, back in the day, I had a familiar theme or a recurring theme. Now recurring themes are things that dream time is getting you to look at by having them show up again and again, and with the idea that maybe perhaps you either A, didn't understand the dream where the symbolism was playing out the first time you had it, or B, you knew what's going on, or you knew or know what's going on, and for some reason you are not attending to it. Because my other belief about dreams is that we experience them as ways to kind of guide and navigate our waking lives, right? I'm of the mindset and the belief that dreams come to help heal and improve every aspect of our lives, okay? So now, the idea of the recurring theme is because I was maybe in my late teens, early 20s, so I didn't have an appreciation for dreams the way I do now. But back then, I had a recurring theme about running up spiral staircases and being chased by authority figures. Yeah? Okay, so the very first one I had featured, surprise, surprise, my mother, right, being the very first authority figure I experienced in life, because I was raised by a single parent. My dad was not in the picture. So she was my first authority figure. So I used to have recurring themes about being chased by her in various ways, and one of those was on a spiral staircase. The second time I had this dream with the spiral staircase, I was being chased by one of my managers with like my very first or second job. His name was Jeff. I won't give his second name. I doubt he's watching this, but I won't give his second name. And he worked for a supermarket chain that I worked for when I lived in New Jersey, right? Because I've worked in grocery retail for a long, long time now. But that was actually my very first job, or my second job, I should say, because I got hired on my 18th birthday. So the things that you remember about life, right? So, but he was such an important figure in my life in terms of authority that I had several dreams where I was being chased by him. And it would always be where the person who was chasing me, like I would always be within arm's length. Like they could reach out and grab me, but I somehow would evade their grip. And it was just a never-ending cycle of me running up these stairs being chased by these figures. Okay, so that was the context for the spiral staircase as a symbol in dreams. Now, what that means is going around and around and around and not getting anywhere, right? That's the chief symbol, chief meaning of this card for me, is that whenever a spiral shows up, it represents going around and around and around and around, but not getting anywhere. So where in your life do you feel like you're having that experience? It kind of, as a way to mirror this card, right? It could be like you're going around and around and around, either with a role that you are playing in life in a certain context or situation, or that you're going around and around with certain relationships within certain contexts or situations about the roles that other people are playing, right, in relationship dynamics, right, and going around and around and around, feeling like you're not getting anywhere. It's like the hamster running in the wheel, right? The wheel's moving, but it's not going anywhere, right? So it could just be a matter of what steps are you willing to take. See that, what I did there? What steps are you willing to take to kind of get off the hamster wheel, right? So you can see some progress being made, right? So now this card is also akin to the Wheel of Fortune in Tarot, if you're Tarot fluent, right? If I didn't say it before, I'm saying it again. The Wheel of Fortune in Tarot is really about taking a look at cycles and patterns that are repeating and recurring, you know, so we can break the cycle and interrupt the pattern, right? So what cycles are patterns? Now this is coming towards the end of the week. So as a result of the first two cards and their messages and you taking action in some way on those messages, you may come to this part, or this card, the emphasis of this card, and go, you know, I'm seeing certain cycles and patterns at work in my life, and I'm realizing that I no longer want to operate within those cycles and those patterns. And this is an opportunity for me to get off the ride, going like the idea with a Ferris wheel or a carousel. Yeah, those things that just kind of go around and around, right? This is an opportunity to say, stop the ride, I want to get off, right? And so now let's add the other elements to my dreams. I know I said this is personal, but it could involve authority figures, right? So it could involve parental influences, right? And it doesn't mean that you are in relationship with your parents, right? Because I, at this stage of my life, I'm not in relationship with my parents, right? But we still can carry parental influences, familial influences, right? That keep showing up in our lives again and again, right? Those ways that we can say to ourselves, oh my God, I'm acting like my mom. Oh my God, I'm acting like my dad. And that might not necessarily be in a good way, right? Right? You may be modeling, unconsciously modeling behavior that is now becoming conscious that came from observation of your mom and dad, right? That would be one way. It could also be that you're just being called to take a look at the people who you believe to be authority figures in your life, right? So this could be bosses, supervisors, if it's a work-related context like the one I had, right? It could just be a matter of you taking a look at the authority figures in your life and maybe being willing to not give them any more power than you have already given them, right? This might be an opportunity for you to take back, in some way, your sense of personal power. Ooh, and on that note, I'm going to end this week's Oracle Outlook. I hope that if you hung out with me this far in the video, that you have found whatever came through of resonance, that you have found it helpful, insightful, and that you are maybe considering putting some legs to that, meaning like getting it moving, right? Putting some feet to that. So this is James Himm Mitchell. I am wrapping up. Thank you so much for spending this time for me. Thank you for being willing to allow me to use this deck on you, for being my human guinea pigs. I appreciate that so much. And I look forward to seeing you in another video in the future. So until then, be well and take care.